Hey, today's video is about global warming. Global warming made easy by a caveman. Yes, a caveman. I recently had an argument with some fellow on the internet. I can't remember Jeff Lee Brown's name, but he went by JLB. But he called me a caveman. So hey, I kind of liked it, Caveman Dave. Or how about, I had a friend, she used to call me Captain Dave Man. So I think it's kind of cool. You know that global warming is going to warm the world up, and all the oceans are going to melt, and everybody's going to die a horrible death because there ain't going to be no food, and there's going to be floods and volcanoes and tidal waves and cats and dogs living together, that kind of thing going on. But what's the truth of the matter? You know, why are they trying to scare us? Because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to scare you into to believe in all this crap. But the truth of the matter is, yeah, we do need a different fuel than fossil fuel. Of course we do. But to scare the people to death isn't no way to go about it. So what we have here is 3 blue balls which represent the Earth. Hey, unless of course you're with the Flat Earth Society, I just couldn't figure out how to pull that one off. So here we got 3 blue balls. Now if you think about it, what they say, like 1.6 million years ago, if you believe that, the Earth was totally covered with ice. And then now our ice is even getting smaller, represented by this one. And here somewhere in the middle, maybe 1,000 years ago, there wasn't quite a bunch of ice. And the reason I did this is because they're saying now, well, the polar ice cap is melting at a expansional rate. It's melting faster than it ever melted before. So I just wanted to show you that, here you got, of course, the less ice you have on the object, the faster it's going to melt, because the more ice you got, the more insulation you got. So it's going to insulate itself. So you're probably saying, well, that's what all the scientists are doing. Well, they're just like everybody else. You grease their wheels with a little cash, they're going to say anything you want. How about all of the scientific data? How about all the scientific proof? Well, data, proof, experiments can all be fudged, can be all put every way. It's like the Bible. One person can explain the Bible one way, another person can explain the Bible the other way. Don't eat meat, do eat meat, don't eat pork on Saturday, or women should wear long dresses. It's all the way you determine it, the way you read what you want to read into it, and the way you perform your data. Now, there is conflicting scientist reports saying, oh, the Earth has only gained one degree in so many years, but they too are being trying to influence you, because they're being backed by the OPEC, the fossil fuel giants. That's lots and lots of money. Of course, they don't want us to change over to wind power, solar power, ocean power. There's vast places we can go to get our power from. They want you to keep burning the oil. So here we are, stuck in the middle, being pulled 2 different ways. And the people that are pushing for these new fuels and solar and wind power, of course, think about how much money is going to be made, how much money is at stake. They've got a lot invested in this too. So now you can see that my planets are starting to melt off. There goes that one. Nice. But you can see the planet here that was supposed to be 1.6 million years ago. Of course, it's going to take longer to melt. It's hardly melting at all, because ice insulates ice. And another thing they're saying is that the polar caps are melted back farther than they've ever been. The polar caps are melted farther than they've ever been. And I'm asking you, how is that possible Because as these polar caps melt back, they're finding artifacts thousands of years ago from men, you know, tools, clothing. So if these caps are melting back further than they ever been, how did these artifacts get under the ice? And here's something else that's probably little known, is that on the North Pole, that Russia's drilling and doing exploration for oil, that they have done core samples, and they have brought up core samples that have frozen vegetation, tropical vegetation, pieces of animals, tropical animals on the North Pole that have been frozen and preserved. So, what does that lead you to believe? The North Pole was a tropical zone at one time? So the Earth didn't have ice caps at one time? So it's really easy to see that the Earth goes through changes just like it changes seasons. Even though that they're spaced hundreds of thousands of years apart, the Earth still has seasons. And yes, the water is going to rise and we're going to have to move inland. Simple as that. Yeah, well, maybe not so simple, but it's either that or take up swimming a lot. But the thing about it is, the Earth has been changing for millions of years. Thank God we don't live in a glacier period where the Earth is covered with ice. What we should really be worrying about if the polar ice caps were expanding and the world was getting colder. So let me ask you something. So when the Earth was in this condition, and now it's over here with hardly any in it, where did all of the carbon in the air come from to melt the ice then? Why are they saying that it's man's pollution causing all of these to melt, when the Earth has been melting for millions of years? Where did it all come from? Why did it melt? There was no pollution. Man wasn't creating pollution. It's just one of the seasons the Earth goes through. And that's about it for that. So there's one more thing. Here's a little something for JLB. And he said I was fat. Can you believe that? Now, JLB, the reason I put that on there because he's I'm not Asian, but he's an Asian obsessed ladyboy lover. And walks the streets of Manila and stuff looking for him. But anyhow, that was for him. But it's time that we thought sensibly about the melting of the Earth caps and figured it out for ourselves that the Earth isn't coming to the end. It's just changing seasons. It's just changing its cycles. It's a living thing. And yes, we do need a new fuel system, and we really need to explore more things that we can use for energy, no matter what OPEC and the giant oil corporations say. And we also need not to be scared of the future for our grandchildren, our children, great-grandchildren. Because like I said, this Earth has been changing for millenniums. Ice, tropics, ice, tropics. Oh, there's another thing I wanted to touch. They're talking about the coral dying on these coral reefs, how the coral's dying out because the ocean's getting warmer. Coral's very sensitive. Yeah, the oceans are getting warmer, and they've been changed, and they've changed before. But what they're not telling you is when one door shuts, another door opens, because if the ocean in one spot is getting warmer, that means it's getting warmer somewhere else too. So the temperature somewhere else is going to be rising where the coral can survive and thrive. It's just going to have to relocate. It's like everybody else. Like I said, this has been going on for millenniums, and species do die out, but the coral will not die out. The coral will move, and it'll be just fine. It'll take years and years for it to regenerate, but it will. And that's about it for today. So that's Captain Dave, man, signing out. And have a nice day. God bless you.